part of that. In that, we were discussing some big things that he's been doing, in addition to some things in the future. He's got the Global Implantology Summit coming up this fall. You have a flyer in front of you about that. It's probably something similar to this, but probably 100 times bigger and cooler. So I encourage everyone to go. He's putting together an amazing implant practice that I'm sure he's going to touch on, and just doing some awesome things in the implant community, in his local community, and just got some great stuff. So Dr. Shah is going to take it here. I'm going to jump in the trading spot. I'll take over the computer and he can take the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kianor Shah. I'm a general dentist. I'm an implantologist. And I'll be sort of jumping around a little bit today on various topics to see if we can get you guys a little bit more interested in the discipline and the art. So my topic was to discuss where do I start. Having practiced in hundreds of offices as a traveling dentist and shaking hands with a lot of my colleagues, I've kind of gotten a good understanding of a lot of the challenges that we face. So where do I start? I'll tell you guys my story from birth till today and how I'm doing full mouth rehabs now. Just briefly, I grew up in Germany. I've left Iran when I was 9. I got my education and training in the US, undergrad and dental school. And 10 years later, I went back to get an MBA to help me care better for my patients as well as run a better operation. After dental school, I picked up one of them Southern Bells, got married, 6 different places in the world, same lady, kept this in the office. Same lady. Same lady. Yeah, actually, I was driving around in Vegas, and you gotta be probably the only Middle Eastern-looking Elvis out there, and we had a lot of fun. That was the first one, actually. And then after that, I had my first baby with Mallory, and we were having a girl in about 5 weeks, 3 weeks before that conference that I will be speaking a little bit more about. After all that was the way I got busy with implantology. Shaking hands, going to conferences, coast to coast, Florida, New York, Chicago, LA, you name it. And what I've realized is there's so much to implantology that as a GP, if you didn't have any specialty programs, you're going to struggle to go from place to place to pick up all the things that you need in your toolbox to get the care that you want to give your patients. So I decided to do it a little differently. I set up a 2-chair. Instead of running around like crazy all day long, numbing patients from one room to the other, you can actually do it a little differently and take a lot of time. I spend an hour and a half with every new consult, just shooting the breeze with them. How are you doing? What's going on in your life? What are you looking for? What are your expectations? What can I do for you? And it gets you a lot of good Yelp reviews. It gets you a lot of attention, and word of mouth still works. You'd be very surprised. We set up a 2-chair operation with a CT in there, some surgical lights, and gallery style, and it cost me a fraction of what I spend on the other 6 offices I used to own. And we're doing double the revenue out of those 2 chairs. So, the facts: 500 million missing teeth in the US, only 1 to 2 million placed. Our ear specialists have a lot to do with that. They scare a lot of the GPs. And the fact of the matter is there's not enough specialists in the world to care for these patients. You gotta step in and you gotta do it. 36 million Americans, no teeth. 120 million, at least 1 missing tooth. That's over a third. Every 3rd person here in the US missing at least 1 tooth, which is projected to increase to 200 million due to the baby boomers that we have. And at least 40 million I know are in loose dentures or heading into dentures. So it is a silent epidemic. I was studying the numbers worldwide, and it would shock you, talking 2.5 billion and above people that suffer from this. It is an epidemic, and it's not addressed enough. So converting bridges to implants, always a good idea. As you guys know, the lifespan of a bridge 5 years, implants, depends on how you take care of it. So more and more dentists are getting into it. The numbers are shooting up, mostly in Europe and US. We got about 40% of the healthcare market in the world here, where you guys are. It's a very lucrative business. It's altogether a very, very good business to be in. I practice now 2 to 3 days. I do full month rehabilitations. And I do essentially what the 6 specialists do myself. And patients come, they have a good time. I see a couple of patients, and it pays all the student loans, the overhead, and whatever the wife does. So here, I'm an implantologist here, right? What would you do here, Dr.
Put an implant right in the middle.
Right smack in the middle. Okay, right smack in the middle. So, yeah, don't talk ortho with an implantologist. Regional considerations, we talked about this a little bit. Europe is coming up, Asia Pacific, dragging along, and you'd be surprised what's happening in the Middle East. They are seeking more education. And those are the key factors, mainly education and marketing, to be able to get to those regions. Now, why don't denture patients get implants? There's many reasons. First of all, when you're a denture wearer, let me tell you a little bit about your life. You've been to a dentist for, 10, 15, 20 years, the root canals, the extractions, the crown and bridges, the nickel and diamond, and you get your teeth out, and it's all over. You're excited, and you're in your dentures, and you go along 6 months, year, 2, 3. Humans adapt to plastic just like they adapt to anything else. They get a sore spot, they call the dentist, let me get in, let me get the adjustment. They're already pissed off because they have to pay for that adjustment. That's the most exposure they get. They're out of the system. Sense of relief. No more nickel and diamond. I'm done. I'm okay with my dentures. And then they see these advertisements for implants for $3,000, $4,000. They do the math. I have 28 teeth in my mouth right now, and there's no way I can pay for it because they don't understand that you can put 12 teeth on 4 implants. So communication becomes very important. And then the fear and pain naturally, I always tell patients, implants are easier than fillers. You have bone, there's no nerve, like drywall, etc., etc. And then self-diagnosing, I'm too old, then you gotta get into the discussion of why do you think you're old? I've treated patients in their 90s and beyond. So, case acceptance. What do these patients want? They don't care about the 6-degree taper and the screw and the appointment. They want to smile, they want to eat, they want to laugh, they want to do what you and I do. They want to enjoy life, no matter what their age is. So you have to communicate that with them. So just saying, oh, I'm different, doesn't differentiate you. If you go into a room and try to pick up a significant other and go up to them and say, I'm different than all the other guys in here, she thinks you're a sleazeball. So differentiating means talk different, understand their problems, right? I do a lot of commercials on TV and I talk and I present and I get to how do you communicate with someone that cannot answer to you? How do you establish rapport? So you have to understand their problems. So when these patients come to my office, they already are like, yeah, Dr. Shah, you get it. You know that when I'm in a restaurant, I have to run to the bathroom and clean my dentures. Or I have to hide it from my wife, or I have to change my lifestyle, or I'm scared to smile. You get it. So you have to talk to them in a fashion, if you're marketing and advertising, that you bond with them, thoroughly bond with them, to a point where they come to you and tell you that you understand their pains, you want to resolve it for them. Very important in marketing. So, implants. Before we get to implants, all the conferences I went to, those towns I was telling you guys, and then some internationally, it's always people talking about implants. How can you do implants better? What do you do with implants? When? How? When we forget about extractions. Exodontia is your foundation for implantology. I set up the International Extraction Academy about 3 years ago, wanting to focus more on the foundation. And in our philosophy that has changed. In the 70s and 80s, you come in, you take your tooth out, see you later, thank you very much. And it's not that old of a concept to have a high-speed handpiece that you're using that was, advanced to 3,000 RPM in the 70s. So it's a new concept. We now think before we do the extraction, how can we preserve that bone the best, even if there is not an implant being a treatment plan? So it's a process, and it starts way before the extraction, actually, the implant process. But it's good to, if you have any interest in exodontia and extractions, you're going to do well with implantology. It's your calling. Why am I putting this up here? Patient goes in, gets a wisdom tooth out. The first guy comes in, forgets to get a consent. Calls his associate. Associate comes in. The associate presumes that the other doctor has a consent. He goes in there, can't get the wisdom teeth out. Patient develops chronic pain. $9.8 million lawsuit. Those guys' names been drugged. That can be avoided by simple concepts of preparation, preclinical preparation. We set up the International Extraction Academy where we do some online stuff. I invite you guys to visit it. We do 2 different workshops. We like to take doctors that are coming out of school that have interest in exodontia into the implant industry by showing them how extractions are properly done and how you can preserve and how to do guided bone regeneration and those things. But it starts with an online portion, it progresses to a hands-on workshop, then it progresses further into a hands-on immediate implant workshop, and then we do the live shoulder-to-shoulder type scenarios in that capacity. It's the online portion. These forms I uploaded, I also have another entity called Surgical Sedation Partners. In that entity online, we have put lots of forms up there. All you gotta do is download them, flip them a little bit. I had a couple of patients that have made noise over the years, but I've never been sued. My arbitration agreement has never been breached, and it's up there. I invite you to download those forms for your own clinic if you ever need them, consents, post-op instructions, and so forth. It's free. Economy of extractions are good. You know, no overheads. Probably one of the cheapest dental procedures you're gonna make with some anesthesia and you know, some gauze and some post-operative instructions. But it is the most common procedure in the world. Maybe not in the U.S., but in the world it is. It's one of the lowest overheads. There are ancillary procedures that can be charged. I've seen them, an exuberant amount of monies that are being charged for bone grafts. Everybody has their own philosophy. I had an oral surgeon dental school that said, hey, stay away from bone grafts, let the bone heal from bottom up. And you got all these other people that are saying that you need to maintain space, you need the graft. You gotta do it, have the experience with it, and come up with your own philosophy. And I'll get to that towards the end of it and how you achieve that. Start with the simple ones, just like I do all of my wisdom teeth. I've gotten probably 30,000 cases now under my belt without any permanent paresthesia or any of those things, but I started with the simple ones, like they taught us how to do the central first with endo, and then go to the next one, and go to the next one. Now I do it faster. By the time the oral surgeons come around to set up their IV stuff, the patient is done atraumatically and gone. And it's a good money maker in the office. I enjoy doing those. That's how it all started, actually. Now, I encourage you guys to do some infomercials. People like to meet you face to face. I get on Randy Alvarez once in a while. I do a little presentation about wisdom teeth, implants, answer all those questions. It's always good to be out there. So innovation with implantology, you know, with root canals, we know, for example, that, hey, you gotta be 0.5 millimeters to the apex. You got a little puff, you're good. But in implantology, you can be creative. You can make up your plan. As long as you can justify why you did what you did and how it made sense at that time, you're okay, you're safe. You follow everyone else, that's what your future will end up looking like. So be creative. I was doing this case the other day, I wanted to take a picture of it. You know, I was in there, and at one point my life was flashing right in front of me. What am I doing here? I'm screwing something in someone's job. But it took 10 years to get here. So I can see the sinus, I can see the membrane, I can see a nice chunk of bone. I'm going to leave that I'm going to put that implant in. Yeah, you better believe it. So be innovative as much as you can in implantology. Here's a movie star that was in my office the other day, and she comes in, busted tooth, number 10. And is hopeless, and she didn't want to have a removable. And I wasn't going to load that thing because I did the analysis and there wasn't enough bone for me to load it. I knew it was going to fail if I tried to load it. So I took her tooth, the broken tooth, and shaped it into a ponic, put it back in there after I put my implant in, so I wouldn't have to load it, and use a little, I think actually this one I used some ortho wire to bond it in the back. It looked pretty good, she liked it, she was happy, and she left. And I'll tell you guys why I did that. But be innovative, do it differently, be different. So I put it up on the screen. We got some beautiful tools now in radiology, as Dr. Gans will talk to you guys about shortly. we did. I was looking for some good bones, some D3, some D2 up there to sink it in, but it wasn't the case, as I only had a little bit of a pocket here of bone, but I was confident enough that I could put it in and bone graft around it and let it sit for a few months and come back to it. So here you see a little bit more of this situation. Let's go to the next slide. So there's a lot of tools at your disposal now to do what you do. So this wasn't going to get loaded with me, but what I wanted to do is one tip I can give you guys in these kind of scenarios, always lingualize your interiors. You'll have a little bit more space. Whatever the cingulum, always go parallel to the cingulum. But I was looking to see if I can put this one in here and augment the rest. And the bone wasn't having it. I mean, the numbers weren't good enough for me to dilute, but I was trying to do anything I can to save of that buccal bone that I have. That's kind of like your margin. The prosthodontists go crazy about the margin all the time. For us, it's the buccal bone. You keep that, you're going to have a lot faster of results, and don't have to worry about bone augmentation and meshes and screws and all of that. And, it becomes a much simpler scenario for you. But different coloration gives you a different idea, how closer to the nose, and you can make your mind up and go this way. By the time I got done with that case, I was actually able to place it, lingual version, and was able to get her own natural tooth back on. So, I had to go through this 10 years jumping around. I remember the days when I was visiting with Dr. Mish, Dr. Gans, and countless others from city to city, trying to pick their brains as to what I needed to do to get where they are. So I wanted to make that a little bit easier for my colleagues, and we started this concept called the Global Implantology Institute. Of course, you're not going to become an implantologist over 3 days, but you will get the toolbox. You'll be able to meet all of these individuals, leaders in the community, and make up for your own mind of if you want to go to what program, be it Dr. Faraj, be it the ID that they have here with Dr. Tawil, and all the other programs out there. But hear them a little bit and see what they're talking about, so you have the tools available to you to get it done. This got bigger and bigger over the months, and we have 50 speakers coming in from 40 countries, all experts in their particular industrial specialization in their field. And we are covering topics starting from anatomy all the way to complex implantology and everything in between. So if you're a prosthetic guy, and every one of you guys should have at a minimum a prosthetic experience in implantology, because you can't avoid it anymore. It's going to be with you, even if you're working with a specialist. For placement. So we have different tracks for those purposes. And it's not just implants, there's a lot more to it. There's pharmacology, there's biophysics, there's concepts about implant designs that you guys need to understand before you get involved in this business. And complications, and down the list it goes. So you will have 24 CE units in 3 days. You get to meet some of the biggest names in the industry from across the world. And you may not have to end up doing what I had to do to actually even get to know half of these people. So, 50 top speakers, 50 top companies, we're calling it G100. It's a lot better than G8 and 7. Everybody comes out happy. What we're going to do here for Dr. Gordon's group, if you use the code LA50, you will get 50% off to come to this event. It's in LA, it's in about 5 weeks. And once you register, you're going to get an email within a week later that will give you the opportunity to bring one of your colleagues or your staff members for a fraction of a cost, also with a special code. The monies that we collect to this venue are all being donated towards accommodating our speakers. And that's what also our sponsors have essentially donated towards. With that being said, the Academy is always open. We're going to do more and more international Academy events this next year. I'm very easy to find on the internet, and I should have probably thrown my number up there, but it's 618-917-5805 is my cell phone. If you're ever in a clinical situation, and I've been in many, I usually pick up a phone and call a colleague. You can always call me, okay? Thank you very much.